Hey everyone, I finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, No One's Friend. This is it's a decent episode. It's a fun little episode. It's nothing particularly amazing for VR Troopers or American Tokusatsu shows in general. It's fine. It works as a little filler episode. It's fine. So, there is like a lot of stuff going on in it, but it's all mostly little things. So anyway, beginning, Ryan and JB are giving a self-defense demonstration to some people at the newspaper to promote a free class at Tao Dojo. The mayor's wife, Mrs. Rooney, comes in with her nephew Percival, and Percival doesn't like being called Percy. But he will be called Percy whether or not he likes it, including by me, because after this episode, he's pretty much always just called Percy, whether or not he likes it. So, Mrs. Rooney insists Woody give Percy a job, and so Woody decides to make him Caitlin's assistant. Carl Zichter orders one of his minions, disguised as a human, to go to Tao Dojo to the self-defense class. Then, as Grimlord, he goes over the other part of his plan. Let's see, it's kind of weird. The Skugs can somehow connect the troopers to this new robot, Polarbot. So if the troopers make physical contact with this Skug, then Polarbot can control them. I feel like they could have came up with a better uh, way to do that. Whatever. Anyway, let's see. At the dojo, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's a whole bunch of people there training for the class. There's some other people who appear to be students there. Caitlin's taking pictures for the newspaper. And then Percy comes in. And Tao asks him if he'd like to participate. And Percy tries to, like, gloat and play himself up, saying that, it's okay, I already know karate. I'm far beyond a black belt. I'm a topaz belt. And I love Tao's reaction. Huh. Maybe I know your sensei. It's a funny little bit. I don't really know what exactly Percy's trying to achieve here. I guess he feels self-conscious and he wants to make himself look a little better to anybody he possibly can. So anyway, Caitlin and Ryan laugh it off, thinking he's just joking around. I don't think they know yet who about Percy's personality, that this is kind of who he is. Which is nice, this early on. This is his introduction, and it really feels like one, because the other characters don't really know him too well yet. By the end, they'll kind of figure out who he is. He's a dork. So then, one of the people attending the self-defense class is Grimlord's disguised minion. JB approaches him, thinking he's another student, and, let's see, so he says, "Hey, did you want to take part in the demonstration?" And so then, the guy's like, and JB's like, "Okay, cool, let's start." So then he begins to bow, then the guy grabs JB's head, slams it into his knee, and it's a really brutal attack, holy crap. And it just comes right out of nowhere. It's a really intense scene for a few seconds. It's crazy. It's really weird to see something like this here. I don't know if this would have been allowed in Power Rangers, something like this, such a sudden and brutal attack. Especially like an attack right to the face. That was something Power Rangers usually steered away from. But VR Troopers, I read, was syndicated, so they didn't have to answer to network standards. They could do whatever they wanted, they could set their own standards, and the whole intention was that the show would be sold to different networks. Don't think that paid off in the long run. Power Rangers was syndicated too available for syndication. I don't think anybody actually picked it up. So anyway, moving on back to the plot. Let's see. JB is knocked right into Caitlin. Then the minion runs off. Ryan catches up with him just in time for it to turn into a Skug and teleport away. Ryan goes back in to check up on JB and Caitlin, and they're behaving really strangely. They're really rude and aggressive. And it's really weird because the Skug minion thing only hit JB, but I guess, I don't know, it's contagious? He knocks JB hits Caitlin, so whatever, moving on. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's a really intense argument JB and Ryan kinda It's not really an argument, it's more JB's just yelling at Ryan for no reason. Or, well, the reason is because he's being mind controlled by the Polar Bot, or the Polar Bot is influencing them to act aggressive to Ryan, I guess. Anyway, JB says to Ryan, you know, if Professor Hart had put me in charge, we would have found your father by now. And Ryan's just like, just like, he knows something's up, and I really love Brad Hawkins, the actor who plays Ryan. He has such a great face. He's a really good actor. It's too bad he didn't really seem to do much after VR Troopers. He became a country singer. Isn't that weird? Or not really. He has a good singing voice. You'll hear it in the Christmas episode in a long time. So anyway, JB starts to fight with Ryan, and there's a pretty clever little thing here. The theme of the episode, or at least set up at the beginning, was the self-defense class, and Ryan uses his self-defense knowledge against JB because he doesn't want to hurt JB, but also he can't let JB hurt him. That's a really clever way to work that in. So then, later on, JB and Caitlin storm out, and Ryan's like, something's weird. He goes to talk to Jeb, and Jeb says, hey, we should go talk to Caitlin, and so Caitlin is at the newspaper place eating cake with Percy. There's a big, welcome to the newspaper, Percy sign, or Percival. Actually, I can't remember if the sign says Percival or Percy. Anyway, while they're eating, Caitlin says to Percy, what do you think of the cake? I think I'm allergic. And, Ryan comes in with Jeb, and Percy's talking to Caitlin. You know, I'm allergic to dogs too. Dogs are they make me they make me sick. And then he looks over, he sees Jeb, and then he slams his face into the cake. Saban show, and then he sneezes again, and then falls backwards into the rest of the cake. And then Caitlin gets really mad at Ryan. Ryan's trying to stay calm about this and ask what's going on. And so then Caitlin takes Ryan, they drive off into the desert, and JB is waiting down in the desert, but he doesn't want to talk. And then all of a sudden an army of Skugs attacks Ryan. Caitlin and JB don't help, and then Ryan is sent to the battle grid. He makes it out, but then he's faced with Caitlin and JB, who transform and threaten him, and he doesn't want to fight them, so he jumps into his car, drives away. Let's see, did he take Jeb with him? Now I can't remember if he actually took Jeb with him or not. Anyway, let's see. They follow him in the airship and fire at him, along with Polar Bot and a bunch of other of Grimlord's monsters. Ryan makes it to Hart's lab, and then Caitlin and JB follow him in, and then, Jeb is there, because Jeb is the one who flips a switch and activates this force field around Caitlin and JB to trap them there, while Ryan and Professor Hart figure out what's wrong with them. So then... Okay. Professor Hart scans JB and Caitlin and tells Ryan that they're controlled by Polar Bot, and Ryan has to defeat Polar Bot to sever his link to his friends. So then he goes to battle Polar Bot, and then JB and Caitlin are still stuck in the force field, and they're able to trick Jeb into letting them out by saying, man, Jeb's just way too smart to let us out. And Jeb's tail wags, hits the switch, and I guess he can't just flip it back like he did before. JB and Caitlin escape, and then... Whoa. What just happened to my notes here? Bunch of stuff jumped around. Okay, anyway. Let's see. Ryan defeats Polar Bot, JB and Caitlin are back to normal, and then, because I guess the episode's running short, Grimlord sends out Ivar, and then JB and Caitlin fire back at him, he's gone. The troopers hang out at the newspaper place, and Woody comes in and tells them that, hey, Percy went to the self-defense class, and then Percy comes down wearing a karate gi. Isn't that what uniforms are called, gis? Anyway, it's way too big for him, even though I'm guessing it was probably the smallest size they had. So anyway, he comes down, and he's like, oh yeah, I learned a lot, and he does like a demonstration. He does that, and then kicks and his pants fall down. Saban show. And then everybody laughs at the end. Saban show. So like I said, it's a decent episode. It's perfectly run-of-the-mill. The most important thing about this is it introduces Percy, who's going to go on to be a major recurring character. Not a super important character most of the time. He's just a comic relief, doofus, dorky guy. Uh, oh, and like, how was it? Virtual V6. He's a stereotypical nerdy guy, although he actually does come off more like the stereotypical nerd that they're going for more than the guy in Virtual V6. See, Percy is skinny, awkward, he has a nasally voice, he's hypoallergenic, he's a hypochondriac, he has big thick glasses, he has a dumb haircut, he has a big bow tie, he overdresses for stuff. Yeah, nerd. I don't think he's a particularly smart nerd, though. He's more the goofball type of nerd. So, anyway, at the moment, he comes off as just a silly character. Not a whole lot of depth to him, although, as the show goes on, I seem to remember there are episodes that do go a little deeper into with Percy as a character, and it reveals he's not just a dumb, like, dorky guy. He does have a teensy bit of depth to him. So, let's see. And I do prefer him over the mayor and his wife, and that shtick. I do not care for the mayor and his wife, because, seriously, the show doesn't seem to know what to do with them. They show up, Jeb knocks the wife into something. It's not good. It's definitely Saban's show, but I think Percy's a better example of Saban's show at its more entertaining. One of the things I was thinking about Percy was I'm pretty sure the whole reason he's here is because Saban looked at Power Rangers and realized, oh, Bulk and Skull are pretty popular. We should do something like that for VR Troopers. But they didn't want to copy what Power Rangers was doing. That was another thing that Saban, I don't know if it was Heim specifically or his company, they were very aware that they didn't want to copy anything too closely, which is kind of ironic for this episode. I'll get to that in a minute. But they didn't want to do two goofy characters that were too much like Bulk and Skull, so I think that's why Percy is there. Bulk and Skull are stereotypical punk bullies. Percy is a stereotypical nerdy dork. So it's different enough, but it kind of gets across the same type of humor that they wanted. Percy even gets a cake in the face in this episode, and sits in cake. Um, so then... Grimlord's plan for this episode is actually kind of clever, and it does actually work for a while, since Ryan is reluctant to fight back against his friends. This is very similar to, like, plots in Power Rangers. However, the thing that's really similar is the episode of Power Rangers Power Ranger Punks, where Billy and Kimberly are turned into punks and behave very similarly to JB and Caitlin here, being rude and aggressive, and they even do a similar thing where they're trapped in a force field. And it really made me wonder if Power Ranger Punks had any influence on this episode. Like, the way JB and Caitlin get turned into the antagonists is kind of awkward, and I'm wondering if originally they had something more similar to in Power Rangers, where Babu drops, like, magic stuff into their drinks. They drink the stuff, and then they turn evil. In here, the Skug pushes JB, and that turns him and Caitlin evil. It feels kind of like a rushed rewrite. I'm wondering if maybe originally Grimlord was going to have the Skug go in and, like, put magic something or other in a drink. But then they thought, oh, that's too similar to Power Rangers, let's change it up. So they changed it to he has to make physical contact with them, which is... like, it works fine, but it's really awkward. Let's see. One of the things that kind of disappointed me with this episode, when Caitlin and JB morph, or transform, I have Power Rangers on the brain, and to fight Ryan, I kind of wish they had had at least a little bit of a something, because they have all the suits. But for whatever reason, they don't want to shoot too much American footage with them. And when they do shoot it, it's mostly the characters just standing there. I'm guessing because the suits are really stiff because they didn't quite know how to recreate them. I guess they used them mainly for promo shots like this or something. The American suits don't look that bad. I mean, the face for Ryan's definitely doesn't match up with the Japanese one. I don't... I think the neck might be a little too long. The face looks a little too long, too. JB and Caitlin's suits look fine, though. Even if Ryan didn't transform also, it would have been nice to have, like, some kind of little scuffle between them before Ryan turns to drive away. I think that would have added a lot to the episode to have some kind of interaction between Ryan and JB and Caitlin transformed. So yeah, that's about all I have to say for this. Oh yeah, the other thing, Ryan goes into Battle Grid by himself and then immediately leaves. I think this episode might have been coming up short, and that's why they added in stuff like that, because there wasn't any reason to have the Battle Grid scene there. And then later on, when JB and Caitlin return normal, Grimlord sends Ivar out to fight with them for about 30 seconds. It was really pointless. It doesn't solve anything. It's just weird. So, yeah, it's an okay episode. Not a whole lot else to say about it, so I'll end it here. Hope you enjoyed this. See ya.